一栋又一栋的烂尾楼，大到不能倒的地产公司宣布破产。对中国大陆的经济来说，这有如敲响了一记让人震惊的警钟。
Compared with the situations back in 2014, the situation is quite different because back in 2014, we don't have this kind of issues of developers. Back at that time, we just have a slowdown, not a huge wave of default of private developers, and we don't have a huge group of austerity households which already have a high leverage.Lower income expectation.
中国大陆商用建筑的销售量在2021年2月达到高峰，成长幅度甚至达到133%，但到了今年7月却是负1.5%。恒生中资地产指数更是狂跌，尽管北京官方强调房产只占中国大陆 GDP 的6%到7%，但根据哈佛大学经济学教授罗格夫的估算，实际的占比恐怕高达30%。因此，这样大的变动等于是在撼动中国大陆的经济。
China's shrinking real estate sector over the coming years really have a huge impact on heavy industry, on the commodity markets globally, because there's going to be less steel demand, there's going to be less cement being used, less glass, for example, that impacts within China, heavy industrial areas that really produce these raw materials. And so that's not something that will grow very fast.
受到房产冲击，巴克莱将今年中国大陆的经济成长从9%砍到4.5%。标普全球评级也认为，中国大陆房产危机如果持续扩大，明年经济成长将降到3%以下。信心不足是房产冲击不断扩大最主要的原因之一。
That kind of really undermined the confidence among home buyers because they were now worried that developers might not deliver the apartment that they had put a down payment on for. And so you then got essentially a confidence crisis among consumers who weren't able to trust developers to deliver the apartment they had paid for, at least in part. And so demand disappeared. There was lack of trust among buyers, and it's ultimately what led to decline in demand and therefore the downward adjustment of prices as well.
这样的信心危机并不是空穴来风。房产开发商看上房市正热，积极扩展建设，但中国大陆政府祭出限制融资政策，海外债券成为这些大型地产商获得资金的重要来源。
So one strategy the government adopted in order to rein in the frothy housing market was really to curb the financing access of developers. Developers would borrow money in the market, would then build apartments and sell these to consumers. And so by essentially cutting off developers from funding, or at least restricting their access to funding, developers suddenly realized they don't have enough money to actually complete the projects they're working on.
地产开发商碧桂园在上个月还是无法支付1540万美元的利息款项，而且目前碧桂园持有的海外债券高达110亿美元。根据标普全球评级统计，中国大陆在2022年就有26起债务危机事件。专家担心房产骨牌效应还在持续，而且北京当局出手拯救的几率可能不高。
I think Chinese government would try to let those private developers to negotiate with creditors and to get those things done to try to stabilize it, instead of trying to leverage on central government to bail them out.
为了避免房市低迷导致危机扩大，中国大陆将首次购屋的最低首付降到20%，第二次购屋者的最低首付将降到30%。传出一线大城也准备放松限购政策。
All these are really aimed at juicing home sales, raising demand for apartments. And on both of these strategies, the government has only been partially successful so far. We're still early days, but we're not really yet seeing a V-shaped recovery in housing demand. It's really been a bit of a slog in recent months to get consumer confidence back into the market and stabilize home demand.
经济学家预估，北京方面为了救经济，将推出一连串的放宽措施，但预计房市回温速度恐怕没这么快，到了明年都还会经历一番震荡，中国大陆的经济成长将再面临新一波考验。TVBS 新闻综合报道。